Welcome to Las Vegas and inside the Orleans Arena. Everybody's been battling all year for this moment. You win, you advance, you lose, it's all over.
I remember being at the basketball tournament down in Vegas, and I was asked to be on a call with campus officials trying to determine what the next steps are, what they need to prepare for. And that was really the first time that we heard about COVID-19 and the impact that it was about ready to have.
I recall in the middle of our tournament, hearing about COVID kind of showing up a little more across the country, and I remember talking to Kevin Hubby about, what the next steps were going to be or what was going to happen, and when we felt really fortunate that we were able to finish our event.
As we were at our last meet, things were really starting to get bad in Seattle. So traveling back, we were all a bit weary, and we got back to campus. And we were all so excited because Eva had qualified for nationals, and we'd watch her have a really exciting indoor season.
Our teams, we were on the road to have a fantastic spring.
Despite the coronavirus outbreak, thousands of people from all across the country are traveling to Albuquerque this week for the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships.
The NCAA indoor meet is brutally hard to qualify for. You're talking about the top 16 only, but it's a huge step for our program. USF, strong tradition in women's distance running, obviously, but never had an indoor qualifier. It's the first ever.
We really thought we had a good chance of being in the NIT, so we was practicing. We were really getting ready for having a great outing in the NIT.
We had our home tournament. We were on a high. We played fairly well, and we had beaten every team in our conference at least once last year. And so we had a chance to go win conference.
I really thought we were going to be off to the races, and a 40-win season, 35-win season, a regional team, a conference championship, and all of a sudden COVID hits and the season ends.
New announcements overnight of events being postponed or canceled, and young athletes robbed of their chances to shine.
And the NCAA announcing no more winter or spring seasons. That includes the lucrative and highly anticipated NCAA March Madness tournament.
Some of these athletes just finished up the regular season taking for granted, in all likelihood, what they thought was to come. These moments they've been dreaming about their entire athletic lives.
We found out that indoors was canceled the evening before I was due to race the following day. That was definitely really tough to be out there in Albuquerque and to have everything cancelled last minute like that, and to be so prepared to race, and then to have the whole season cancelled at the same time was like a kind of doubly hard blow.
For the athletes who still had that eligibility and they've been plowing through this transition period, and all of a sudden it's over.
That was somewhat devastating for our two seniors because their careers ended overnight.
Our guys handled it really well. They were very mature about it, but just that void, I'm sure, is really tough for them, and I'm sure they feel like, they didn't get to finish the way they wanted to.
Things accelerated just so quickly. One day we're saying, hey, you can stay on campus and we're just gonna take these precautions, and then the next day it's like, we're sending everybody home, you gotta try to get a flight.
We did all the right protocols, got everybody home, but what I found the hardest part is, I think that abrupt closure is where you were really having to deal with everything on all of the spring semester.
I recommended a book, Who Moved My Cheese? And I said, look, fellas, someone's moved your cheese. Like, you've come out of the house and you can't find your cheese. Here it is. And this will be a good book that will help you understand change. I talked about just control the things that you can control. You can't control this, so control the controllables, and we're gonna figure this thing out.
I feel like our coaches did a really good job of really rallying their teams. The impact that they were able to have and their ability to keep everybody together, I thought was outstanding.
The blessing in COVID, and I think everybody will agree, there were areas where we were able to step back and do things that we never would have thought possible. And I think one of them is the Zooms.
We met every week on Zoom. We played online Pictionary as a team. We did all sorts of fun things. Like, I put the seniors in charge of some of the meetings.
One thing that we were always telling the girls is being resilient. And how can we be better? We're better every single day. We can work on our mindset. We can work on not only physical training, but also connecting with each other.
We tried to meet with them regularly, probably 3 or 4 times a week, just to kind of stay in front of them and to make sure they were getting the resources and the support they needed to be successful, not only academically, but really from a mental health standpoint. I thought it was really important because when you take something away from these guys, the social interaction of being on campus, and then the piece of basketball, that's really, you know, an hour to 2 to 3 hours of their life on a daily basis, and they weren't able to have that, it's really concerning.
I mean, the whole online was crazy, talking to my coaches every day and figuring out how I was going to work out, but there was no gym and no weight. So everything that I'm kind of used to or privileged, it just got taken away, and I didn't know who I was outside of this realm of basketball.
I think people didn't realize it at first, what was happening and how much they were going to sink mentally and emotionally until a little bit later. I think the most important thing that I helped out with the athletes is creating a schedule. And in that schedule, it was important to also block in free time, friend time, and your workout time, your fitness time, your meal prep time, all of that stuff. They'd be really proud to show me their schedules. They get real creative, color-coded and all this. And I found that the ones that really stuck to that, they were the most peaceful through this whole thing.
June, you know, things were starting to look up. A lot of people were talking about how, you know, the heat of the summer would kill the virus and we'd be able to kind of get back to normalcy quicker. And the reality was, it just didn't happen. I felt really, really bad for our international student athletes that were at home because I had no answers for them.
All of these students have worked really hard to earn the chance at a USF education. And this year, they've been thrown every logistical and regulatory and immigration hurdle in the book. And the thing our team really wanted to do, the Center for Global Ed, ISSS, Immersions, is pull together and provide the logistical and emotional support that we could to help these students pursue their educational dreams in the way that was best for them and their families.
I remember them working tirelessly, not obviously just for the athletes, but for every international student to try to come back to USF.
It got to around June and July, and I was starting to think maybe I wouldn't be coming at all for the entire term. And obviously that was really stressful with the 8-hour time difference. It wouldn't be possible for me to do the Zoom calls, anything like that. I reached out to the international unit and they were absolutely fantastic in helping me travel directly back to the USA.
They were so on top of making sure they knew everybody's travel plans. I had an individual Zoom call to make sure that my documents were up to date. I had a plan in place, and just to sort of talk me through the pros and cons of leaving and staying and what was safe.
I applied for an emergency passport and then it got denied, and then I had like a full panic attack, and then I think it was like within one day Anastasia did research, figured out the laws, figured out the passport exceptions, and then because I've got a Canadian passport I can come without a student visa. I thought the responsibility was on me, but it was kind of like the school, like USF was kind of looking out for me and doing everything they could to get me here.
Part of what we tried to put in place for our international students at a time when everything was changing so quickly for them, at least they knew there's always an anchor that they can come back to, ask questions, and from which they can get support.
Because a lot of schools don't have that access or that resource to have someone like that and the connections that they have. And it's a really important factor because a lot of our team is an international athlete. And so if we didn't have that resource on our campus, I don't think half of our team would be here right now.
For them to come in, move in the dorm, have to quarantine for 14 days in their room, they are so focused, so determined, so resilient. They're just persevering through it.
It's always hard when you have a plan and doesn't go as you want it.
And also today, 2 more conferences have announced that they will not have sports competing this fall. The West Coast Conference and the WAC both making that decision.
I knew that even after Gina called me and told me that our season was going to be canceled, if I still had the opportunity to be on campus, I would.
Everyone's in the same boat, and you just kind of have to keep putting in the work, knowing that you'll eventually get to race. I don't know if it'll be in a few months, if it'll be 6 months from now, but no training goes to waste.
It's definitely very, very obvious that USF prioritizes our health more than anything, which I think is really, really good, and they're showing us and they're proving to us that it actually means a lot more for one of their athletes not to get sick.
Hearing about other people getting sick or having somebody close to you like get COVID, like you don't know where you can get it, you don't know who you can get it from. Like, it's not about me enjoying my season, it's about keeping like as many people safe as possible.
We're following state guidelines, county guidelines, and then the NCAA has come out with some very good guidelines in terms of how to return to collegiate sport in a safe way. And it's all about really managing entries into buildings, making sure that we do everything as much as we can outdoors. We're making sure that the athletes know their responsibility in terms of wearing masks and how they're presenting themselves on campus, and then taking responsibility in terms of helping us clean. I mean, we only have so many people in the athletic department, and so it's really up to everybody to do their part.
It's imperative. We want to be back. We want to come back. Everybody wants to come back, and we got to show respect for each other.
I feel really good about having our players here. I feel really good about how we're trying to protect them and put them in a position where they can compete and practice and have an actual season. We're doing health checks prior to arriving on campus. We are in masks 100% of the time when we're on campus. The kids are practicing in masks, which has been an adjustment, but they've been great.
Our training staff has done a magnificent job. They've put together a ridiculously well thought out plan. And our parents and our student athletes feel really comfortable with all the policies and procedures in place, and the reality is it's working.
As a college student athlete, you feel like you're going to play 30 games every year, so to really take every game, like it's a special thing, like it can get taken away. I've missed a whole year from sitting out, so and this year is so uncertain, so embrace every game you play.
It's hard to ever get any better at anything without being outside of your comfort zone. And right now, everybody, it doesn't matter what your position is, how old you are, everybody is outside of their comfort zone doing things they don't like to do. And it's what's allowing us to all build who we are as people and to build life skills that we're going to need down the road.
Right now, we'll see you guys tonight. 1, 2, 3.